let's go ahead and get started. But yeah, what's up, guys? The bit of a slow week, don't you guys think? Overall, I was kind of looking forward to what we talked about last week, which is kind of getting into that previous, what is this, like a May 2025 high. I was trying to get into this previous high. I just thought this was kind of just the given, but obviously we are on the daily time frame, so it's not unreasonable to think that we're going to have this type of pullback. It is kind of low momentum compared to the impulse and move to the upside. I just don't know how deep this is going to go. Like, obviously, like there's a possibility we can wick into the sell to buy and then from there hopefully transition to then go higher. But as of now, like I can't really assume that we're going to continue beyond that. I mean that we're not that we're going to completely reverse here. I don't think we've seen enough for this to kind of give us that the implication that we're just going to, let's say, go lower, which is like go up to this point. I don't think we're going to go this far, at least not based on what we see now. Like from an intraday standpoint, there's a pretty clear sweep model here, sweep range, and then we kind of had a dual sweep going here. And we talked about this yesterday in the case study where I was kind of anticipating for the completion of this, and I was hoping that this would happen kind of like before news, and then maybe today our news can give us a move to the upside. But unfortunately, that's just not what we got. So right now, just as of PA right now, right, the key area I was kind of looking at was like this internal buy to sell, just as a reference point to see whether or not we were going to reverse or go from there. But as you can see, we kind of gave an internal reaction and then we swept, came into this single POI. Not really the best POI. I think more importantly, it just shows that we have an internal sweep range now that's also being supported by the external sweep range. And what do I mean by that? It's kind of like here. Right, kind of like here. Right, so now, based on just what I'm seeing now, I kind of just expect this to kind of just roll over. I don't expect like a deep pullback and go lower. I kind of just want this to give us, the quick continuation, sweep this. And then what happens here after that's been swept, that's going to be the major key here, because obviously we could have like, obviously like a potential LGC where that's now aligned with, give or take, the major intraday side of things / swing side of things, and then based on this completion of this sweep and then a potential transition, then we can maybe start to see a move to the upside. That would be pretty cool. And now whether we tap into this or not, that's not really my biggest priority. My biggest priority is seeing what's going to happen after, right, that sweep is completed, right? Because once the sweep is completed, yes, that the internal structure is bearish, but that doesn't necessarily mean, like I said, we're going to go for here. So if there is a transition, then obviously we will aim for back up here. Or if there's like a disruption, right, meaning we sweep this, we break internal structure. And why is this high important? Because it's going to be the high that led us to the completion of the sweep range. And so if that isn't taken and then disrupted, okay, now we're talking about potentially looking for something like this. So yeah, as of now, short-term bias is to here. And I mean, I don't know if we'll hit that this week. If it does hit it this week compared to next week, I wouldn't say it's a good or bad thing yet. But just looking at where we are now, it does look like we might close like this for the weekly. So that means maybe next week that could be like a wick into I think this key reference point here, which is this weekly candle open, right? I think that would be the only area of interest, and I think that aligns directly with the sell to buy. So if we do come back into there, then obviously, like I said, the transition here is going to be the biggest thing, right? If the transition is then backed up by touching this POI and we complete the sweep range, okay, then now I'm then aiming specifically for this, because I just think we're too close to this target for it to not hit, right? And the only thing that, like I said, would invalidate it is if we see like a disruption. But yeah, saying that's pretty much the same thing for EU. EU, you can see here, it is within a similar sweep range. There's an internal dual sweep. And today's move right here actually came back and tapped potentially this sell to buy, which is kind of crazy. Because it didn't tap before. So I think this is I'm actually just seeing this now. So I mean, it kind of just aligns with the idea of what we just talked about with the XY, where we should be seeing the sweep completion there. Because also something that's kind of bothering me a bit before continuing a bit lower. The only thing I'm not really liking here is this, like especially with GU. Like GU is just so close to this previous high that it makes me it's pretty hard to justify not going for this, especially after we just saw this occur, right? Oh, that's a bad circle. We just saw this occur. So what does this mean? This means that we came into the POI, we swept equal highs, we had a reaction, and then that broke. So it's disruption, right? Or LGC internally, right? But it's a disruption in terms of wanting this, right? So because there's a disruption in place, then because we broke that high with momentum, I just think this is now the most reasonable target. And then we talked about this yesterday in the case study as well. So because this is on the way up, and because EU is also completing its potential internal sweep, internal sweep, right? Because it's still completing on both ends, I think it's more reasonable to think they're both going to keep going. Because the only way I'm ever going to have like a change of judgment, like let's say EU is presenting this, but GU already swept, and DXY has the potential to show me like a disruption, like let's say it starts showing me a disruption, then now, okay, I'm going to incline towards this continuing higher. Why? Because we now have a divergence between EU and GU, plus we have a disruption on dollar. So now I'm more inclined to want to take potential sells after, let's say, a sweep here or a sweep here. And then with GU, because we're sweeping a major high here, I'm now anticipating a transition. And that would lead us to another sweep range here. You know what I mean? So this is kind of like really what I would like for next week. Just kind of see some type of transition and then go lower. That'd be cool. But because EU and GU both haven't swept, I think it just makes more sense to support the idea that DXY is going to continue lower, especially complete both of these sweep ranges. So yeah, that's that. And then USDCAD, this one, I'm gonna come back to this one. This was actually pretty clean today. I was not looking at it. But the other one that's also like kind of catching my eye is like AU in terms of the swing standpoint, because we're obviously coming back into right a major say an external buy to sell, right? And then we're already on the H4, so it's like a swing buy to sell. And because we're looking at this buy to sell, right, I'm really going to be looking forward to seeing what happens here, whether we're going to disrupt or we're going to see a continuation. Because if we see the transition here, then we have a very clear target here. And if we have that target, that's give or take, decent move. But more importantly, if you see the transition and it's clean, then you're now being supported by a swing sweep plus in a major intraday continuation, and then a minor intraday / scalp continuation, right? And so that would be a high confluence move. Excuse me. Similar to NU, it's a bit, this one's a bit weirder because yes, we have like a swing target in play in mind that we talked about a couple weeks ago. But the problem here is going to be, especially if you're trading AUNU, the problem, right, that I'm seeing right now is, yes, we're seeing this 75 potentially hit right now. But the only problem with potentially trading NU over AU or AU over NU is going to be like this cross, which is the AN cross. So depending on what this does from a longer term standpoint, then it can incline me to want to take one over the other. So for example, we're seeing like a decent transition here. So like, let's say this is to go down, right? If this is to go down and AU is to show me that transition from the sweep range that we talked about, then I'm going to take that over the NU sell up to 75th. Because if AUDNZD is weak, right? And obviously if we anticipate dollar to be going up, right? Then if AU is weaker than the NZD, then if I'm trying to sell, then it makes more sense to sell AUDUSD over NZDUSD. Does that make sense? Right. I think we've talked about this before with like EU, GU, and EG. Except EG is kind of like a weird pair. You know, it's a bit of a weird pair, like in terms of how it moves. Right. So this is something that's pretty key here. Like it's something LexWaves likes to look at. See, like this one, because this is going down, it makes more sense to want to pursue the Euro USD sell compared to the GU sell because Euro GBP is weaker. And we have a very clear, I actually forgot I had this marked up, but I'm gonna just mark this up now. We have like this in play. You know what I mean? You have this in play, and then you had the transition come in based on the break, unwillingness, and then the continuation mitigation here. So if this is to continue lower from the grand scheme, and we see dollar give you that move into the upside, the move into the upside, sorry, dollar, then it makes more sense to take the EU sell over the GU sell because EG is weak, right? But yeah, and then I guess that'll bring us to the only trade I've taken this week, which is, let me get that before image for you. Excuse me. I have it on my laptop. So let's see. Did anybody here watch the case study last night? Let's see. I think I'm sure you saw it, Mike. See if anybody else saw it. Cool. So yesterday, like if you remember, so like the issue that I was talking about yesterday, right, with this position being aggressive, even though we had the sweep range and we had a potential 70 fib based on high to low, what we talked about. No, the last one, no. Okay. Well, I talked about this. I talked about this pretty much while it was happening, and we have a very like I'm bearish on this, right? Like I'm still bearish from the swing standpoint. We'll look at the chart here in a bit, but we have an internal bearish range, right? Bearish range. We have a 70% fib based on high to low. We have an internal sweep range, and why that sweep range? I will say it's more so just this because there is a clear internal range too. So this kind of makes the sweep range a bit confusing here. But more importantly, I have a bearish range. I have a 70 fib. I have the sweep here plus the dual sweep. And so I'm using the entire POI as a as a reference point, as a POI to put my entry, stop, etc. Excuse me. So the only problem here was the fact that we were internally bullish, and I've said this specifically, like I'm being a bit aggressive with the fact that this is still internally bullish, and technically, like this could still pull back and continue order flow, internal order flow, right? And that's kind of what happened because what I said was if I was to be a little bit more conservative, I would want to see right the disruption internally, which would then give us the move to the downside, which would then give us a very good reference point that would then give you right the full move to the downside. And that's actually what ended up happening here. If you can see here, right, we actually came back into this. This is like an M15 POI, M10 POI. And so based on my entry, right, I was early because this could still very well come back and complete order flow. But it's only until we start to see these different, or I mean these internal sweeps. And something that was confusing me a little bit was how important, or like how significant should this move be compared to the grand scheme, compared to obviously this, right? Why would I dictate this to be a bigger or a much more bigger influence to continue this lower? And why shouldn't I consider this to be right the disruption that I needed to go lower? And that is that was like my biggest problem, right? At the time with the scenario. That's why I didn't move my stop. Not until like this morning. And when I'm looking into that, right, especially at the time, so like I'm about to hit my trailed stop here, but that's okay. But the gist here was, how do I quantify, or how do I make it make more sense to say that this is the reason, the disruption? You know, because the disruption is still technically in play here, right? Up until like here, right? How do I like, what would I need to say, or what would I need to dictate this to be for this to not be, or for that, for this high or this move to be much more significant than this one, right? And so like, what I like to do when I'm like in situations like that is like try to load up the solidified points and see from the internal standpoint how significant these legs were. So yeah, maybe let's try M15 first, because this became, oh what here, and this is why it's important to try to quantify levels. And I don't know, guys, I don't know if I want to like release this, but I don't know, maybe in the future, I don't know. I just don't know if this would be something that's like actually helpful. But like for me, like whenever I'm looking at this stuff, right, when I'm looking at like the levels that are developing within a range, right, we can very clearly see a level 2 shift here. That's why this is a level 3 low. So therefore, this is a pullback. This pullback low is a level 3 low. So I would need to see the transition based on the level 3 to then consider this to be fully transitioned. That means that it would be either a sweep or an unwillingness. So I guess that's what's neat about this indicator, is because I see it's a level 3 pullback, I would need to see a level 3 unwillingness to then start to see, you know, the move to the downside, right? And it's, I think it got confirmed there. I know it got confirmed after this, right? Because if we're looking at just this, if I didn't look at the indicator for that and waited for this, I should be waiting for that technically. But if I'm not, then there's really no difference between this and this. Does that make sense? Like, there's no real difference between calling this a disruption and calling this a potential disruption, right? Because I'm kind of picking highs here, but if I wanted to take the conservative route, okay, then on this M15, I have to wait for the L3 to confirm as either unwillingness or sweep, right? Because then that shows me that based on the level 3, we're probably going to transition here. And then this is really where I should be looking for the position to the downside. Right. So now you guys see, based on whoever saw the case study yesterday, why I was saying that this is a bit aggressive, because it was early. Right. And so if it wasn't early and I waited for the L3, then let's say I did wait for the L3, then what would be um the actual entry? I don't even think there was like a conservative entry. Um yeah, I guess the conservative entry is then to then take this. Right, because the L3 there, so the L3 sweeping the L2, that's then the buy to sell, right? So if that's the buy to sell, then this is technically like what's in play right now. So if I was to be super conservative, like I should really keep my stop either at break even or above the L3 if I'm to assume that this POI is going to continue as to go lower. But now the nuance is the management after that. So like, where's the management now after that? Because technically I could have taken a partial at the 50% here, right, which is the 50% of the range. Right, I could have done that, but unfortunately, like, if you guys saw this move, like this is done in seconds. Like, see, like we had one, oh sorry, we had like one big candle, and then another candle kind of just swept it and came back. So once that started coming back, this is something that gives me room to just be a little bit more cautious, because if this is to explode or give me momentum right beyond this high, then I should be out the trade. That's kind of why I have my chart stop here. But even before that, if you go to like the M5, right, even a substantial momentum shift here is enough to kind of change that. You know what I mean? So yeah, so as of now, right, this is in play. And I'm glad I got to show you guys the level shift, because it's once you see those level shifts that stuff starts to make a little bit more sense. Um but yeah, I don't know if I ever want to release this. Iffy on it. I'm iffy on it. But I will probably add a filter to this so I can only see like L2, L3, and I mean, or anything above L1 basically, because I have it to where I don't see the level zeros, because there's obviously an internal level based on level 1. Um, See, like there's obviously internal pivots, but it's like the break of the L0 is L1. But yeah, I don't know. That's maybe for the future. But yeah, but as of now, I think I'm just gonna leave my stop here this Friday, and then kind of just go from there. Leave my stop above this high, and if it hits, which it looks like it's going to, like just let it hit. And then obviously, if this is now to then be taken, then that's technically an LG. Like if we're looking at this, which would mean that we're technically bullish, right? And then also the other thing that was kind of throwing me off yesterday was the fact that we had a bullish engulfing. Right, we had the bullish engulfing, and because we had the bullish engulfing, that kind of counteracts that offsets that immediate bearish continuation, because we are bearish, and I am looking forward to seeing this potentially go a little bit lower. I think it would make sense, just because we're still within this range, and there's been no disruption or no LG or nothing like that. So I have to assume that until this breaks, this is not unwillingness. So then from here, I just have to keep assuming we're bearish. But yeah, I'm surprised that I took this one. I thought it looked kind of clean, and because it looked a little clean, like I just took it, because typically I don't really like to trade gold. But yeah, but now this is like the area of caution, is if my trailed stop is to be hit, then that kind of supports the narrative here. And if that's the narrative, then obviously you're then aiming for these previous highs, because that shows that we have a high, low, and then if this starts to push up, then this would technically be pullback, and then if that breaks fully, that's unwillingness based on here. And so that would be then the option to give us more bullishness. But yeah, any questions, concerns with that, guys? Before we start getting into case studies. Mm. Also, I did want to make a small announcement. So I'm still gonna keep doing these weekly calls, but after this week, I'm only gonna make the recording public every 2 weeks. So like that means that next week's call, like I'll still run it live, but what was that? Okay, no. So I'm still gonna run the calls live, but I won't be posting them to YouTube publicly. I'll make them into a I'll make them a like pretty much member exclusive recording only. And I'm gonna do that only for only every other week, right? So because obviously I did like the case study yesterday, so that's in like the YouTube thing. But also once the World Cup ends, that's when I'm gonna start doing the whole live trading Tuesday to Thursday. So that means that I think I have the price at 100 or 115 a month. I think it's like 100. Because I already put all the videos in, all the case studies in. I already have it all fully set up. I just need to start it. So for the first month, which will probably be like up until like the end of August, it'll be like 100 a month, and then obviously members will get like the discount and stuff like that. But after that, it'll be like 115, and then it will include all the case study videos slash the uh charting session recordings. It's funny that they're both CS, and then obviously the live stream recording. And so I'm gonna do all of that through Whop. But yeah, this week I will upload this one, but starting next week, like if you're in the live, cool. If not, the recording is just not gonna be public anymore. Yeah, and then I'll just end up uploading them on Whop and on the private Discord. But yeah, that's that. And then I keep procrastinating on making the announcement for anybody who wants to make a like I have a solution for like US clients, anybody who wants to trade like CFDs and be with a regulated broker, obviously just not cuz I don't really trade on Coinex anymore. But I do have a solution for that. I need to make the announcement for that, but just in case if anybody has like any interest in that, it's pretty much like I know how to set up like a digital residency and then using that you can get into a regulated broker. But I'll make the announcement for that hopefully soon if I stop procrastinating on it. And then I did also upload the hold on, I don't know if I can show it, but the all the cohorts, I did put them all into one product and I'll put that on Whop too. Let me see. Yep, I do have it here. Okay. Yep. So, obviously here we do have like I'm gonna have this, which is like 115, and then I'm gonna have the cohort vault. I need to redo the photos, but um, I pretty much already have it all set. So where if anybody wants to buy the cohorts, that, and then I'll have anybody who wants to do the live trading case studies. Plus, I'm gonna add some of the charting session recordings in there. That'll all be through Whop. And then also don't forget guys, if we get this number to 100, I'll make the next blueprint, the next free blueprint, which would be pretty much this, but for the SD model or the LGC, I mean not the LGC, or the OFD model. So I don't know how long that would take, but when this hits 100, I need to like write it down here. Once we get 100 reviews or 100 5 stars, however that is, then after this we can I'll get that started and that'll all be for free too. That'll just be a free ebook. So pretty much just like this, pretty much. But yeah, hopefully I guess by the closer to the end of the month, I'll launch that and then but I will probably do I'll launch the cohort series like probably right before. So yeah, that's pretty much all the announcements for today. Let's get into case studies. Actually, let's see how this is doing. Okay. Yeah, so I guess this is reminiscent of what we said with the sweep here. There's an SD model here, correct? But you're refining this. Just use the whole thing. This is the high that led into the low. Just use the whole thing. Because don't forget, like, what the point of, like, what do you guys, like, do you guys know what the point is of why we use the whole region? Like, what is the point of, like, buy to sell to buy? Like, what is the implication here? I mean, I just wouldn't refine it at all. Like, you should have both. Like, what I've caught myself doing is that like if there's a big zone like this, like I would have the external and then I would also have oh, the internal one as well. Obviously it's not that clean here. But like for example on I forgot which one it was. I don't think it was gold. I mean, yeah, gold is a good example. Gold is a good example. Here, how I have, let's see, I'll take this off. How I have the, where is it? So we have, actually, I'll do this on the M5. It's cleaner on the M5. Here, so how we have this, actually, I don't even think this is on this time frame. We'll just do this. Like, let's assume that the POI itself is an internal sell to buy. But like we have this, which is like the external sell to buy. But then you have like the POI internally here, which more than likely internally is like another buy to sell. But it just for example purposes, like I'll have both. But no matter what, like I took my position here, like here. You know what I mean? Because since I held it here, then my invalidation is here. And obviously, like my TP is pretty big, and I'm not really anticipating this to go that deep, especially if we hit my chilled stop. But at like, do I want to risk not having the trade be executed at like a 1 to 13, which is like, let's actually go ahead and check that out. Like, do I want to risk not executing the trade, but get like a 1 to 16, 1 to 15, or just get in the trade, right? Assure that I have a decent stop, and then I still have like a 1 to 7 to play on, you know, and I already have like a 1 secured. Well, 0.5 secured. Okay, sure. You know what I mean? So at that point, just use both. Like just have both in place, and you could play it multiple ways. You could take the open here, like you could do twin, like a twin trade where you just do half volume, or you could just put your full volume here and just like write it out. You know what I mean? But I just would hate to miss the trade if I knew that I could evade that by just using the entire buy to sell. That just makes more sense to me. You know what I mean? But yeah. So, and also, like, I'm sure this leaves you confused if it like doesn't reach a POI. You know what I mean? Like, whereas if you use the whole POI, it would have tapped. But whereas if you refined it and now you don't, and now it goes and it didn't tap it, it leaves you confused. Like, do you look for like the internal continuation to the downside and then maybe see this? You know what I mean? It'll give you room for confusion. So just make it simpler. Like, sell to buy, there, reaction, there. The cool thing about this one is like if you look at it right here, is I was actually looking for the fib down here. Like I was looking at this. I was looking at this earlier. I was looking at this for this to come back, but then that reaction came in during New York, and that solidified the pullback high, and then that broke, right? So I could obviously move my fib down, which I did do this. I moved my fib down, but once we're here now, it doesn't make much sense because if we're looking at solidified points here, it already played out. Like maybe not on this time frame. You see what I mean? Like the L2 already reacted and it already broke, meaning that this is now technically internally bullish. That's why I have this as like a reference point. So like if it wasn't Friday, like this would be like decent because it's being supported by like the original sweep that we pointed out, and you have an L3 range here. You know what I mean? And then obviously looking at the continuation here. So yeah, just simplify it by not over refining. And now let's see here. Damn, I can't zoom in. Wow. Let's see. OFD. Yeah, OFD, that's fine. We have an internal range. But then there's high momentum here, and then you do have a transition here, which is good. So this transition would have been to target this internally. And then after that, it kind of failed. That's why we're seeing the internal bearish wave. So now the transition here, which is based on this, is what's going to propel us higher, I think. But here, I wouldn't consider this a sell to buy. I wouldn't consider this a sell to buy because I want to see my sell to buy lead into like a break, like into some significant break. Therefore, like if it would have led into this break, then this is the sell to buy that led into the break. So if it didn't do that, then I can't consider it a strong zone. It could be a valid zone because it is a sell to buy. But if it's not leading into a substantial break, then I find it hard to justify. Like, for example, look, if we're looking at this low, this is the previous low to this. If this is the high that led into that break, therefore, if I want to use this as a sell to buy, I have to make sure that the sell to buy leads to the break. You see what I mean? So because it led into the break, that's why it's valid. See what I'm saying? And then if you, the only other confirmation you can add on to that is like if you have high momentum, but obviously this is like super choppy. That's what makes it a bit harder to trade because you also don't want to get stuck in, okay, this is a sweep, yes, but we don't have unwillingness. You know what I mean? So because we have unwillingness, we have equal highs, but this is just liquidity. So therefore, because we're internally bearish, it becomes confusing on whether or not you should look for this or if you should wait for the confirmation here and then potentially go for this. But then if it's already here and it doesn't transition or give you a pullback, then the risk reward from here to here is not ideal. So these are not technically ideal conditions here. Yeah, and so like if I see if it's tricky, like just whatever. Like I just get off the chart. Like you should not have 3 executions in this range, bro. If I'm being honest. Unless you're like taking this and you're obviously going to hold up to here and like you can't really move your stop until you have an LG. So like you have a low, 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 low. First time you sweep a low, okay, so now once this low breaks the high, then you can put your stop here. It's like my gold trade. Like I couldn't really move my stop until this morning. Couldn't move it here because if I have, see, so like the level 3 broke, so it's now a level 4 high. So if it wasn't there yet, right, it's until that happens that now I can technically, until this break internally happens where this is a L3. And once that L3 is confirmed, then I can technically move my stop here. But then I see the internal, which we'll probably see better in like an M3. Okay, so it's not. But I interpreted this, right, as unwillingness. But then we also have an LG here. And that LG is giving me the reason to put my trail stop here. Even though it hasn't fully shown it on the levels yet, but that's because there's also not a lot of data. Because I'm sure if we go to L1, this is a pretty significant. Yeah, you see. Who knows? I gotta start using this more, honestly. Because it seems like on the lower time frames, it's actually better to use. This is a good way to figure out how to trail your SL. Because on level, I mean on M1, you're obviously gonna see more levels because there's more candles, more data. So if there's more data, there's more breaks of structure, more levels. So yeah, I guess I need to start using this a little bit more. But yeah, that would have been my L4 high. And I guess, yeah, I guess I could have trailed my stop there technically. But yeah, I guess I've added a little bit of nuance to it. Cool. Yeah, I know there's a case study on the Discord. Let me go through that one first. Delete that, delete that, delete that. All right, cool. I think this is good up until like here. Like this is a decent idea. Because it is breaking through and you do have the confirmed sweep here. But there's no POI here. There's really nothing. Like this is the buy to sell, but then there's also like turbulence here. So it's not, I don't like the conditions for the sell. And so therefore you do have like the internal LGC. So even if this is a sweep, I think there's still room to see this kind of give you another transition. Because right now it looks like it might just go up here. So if I was to want to see this, like I would hopefully want to see maybe a one push up and then give me a little mini transition here to justify this sweep, or wait for this to break. Maybe if it comes back up, break, and then that would obviously be an internal break, which would then I could then have like a buy to sell, and then aim for here. Or I mean, obviously it looks like it's a bigger target, but I just think this is the timing's a little bit off here. And yeah, obviously, yeah. And then for example, if that little mini transition leads you to here, then because it leads you to this low, then this is now confirmed unwillingness. And so that's then a sweep here. And then you can obviously aim for this low, but you would need this break. And you're already playing off of unwillingness. So yeah, it makes sense because you're playing off of unwillingness here. Makes sense. Yeah, you see? So this is like the ideal position here, which is this. You see? This. Because here, like I said, like the internal is just still showing me that it wants to go for that. So like I would need a little bit more to then confirm that. But you could see here that there's a buy to sell. And then you see how there's a very clean transition. So once everything kind of starts to align, then you start to see things kind of give you really good moves. Like this transition here, once you see the transition here and like you see the little internal dual sweep, doesn't matter where you take your position from in this little range, you have a very good risk to reward and a very good target, and it's being backed by this. And because this reaction is supporting this, that means that that reaction is also supporting, or it's being supported by this. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of alignment there. But yeah, it makes sense. This is why I've been also pretty bearish on that. This is like last week. Yeah. What's your question?
Can you come back on the previous one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The question is, when price reach like target, what is to here, no? To the low.
Mm.
It's not risky then taking this one? Like,
Not really.
okay.
It depends what kind of execution you're talking about.
This is a cushion right here. This
Like
one.
just like you could fib this with the invalidation here, and that's fine because you have
Okay.
this is like this would be a fib continuation based on this, because this is the H1. Wait, am I even looking at this? Yeah, am I looking at the same one? Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. But yeah, this is good because this is also an LGC. So that's why there's a good variation. I haven't really worked on like using it too much, but there's like a good variation if you like figure out LGC, and then you have a range, and then you have like a 71 fib plus like the POI. This is like standard, like pretty much like solidified points plus like standard SMC. Like, because you have this, and then obviously you have the range, then you have this go lower. Did this go lower beyond that actually? What was this? The 7th? Just 3 days ago. Did this go lower? Let's see. Um. Excuse me. Oh, it did. It did. You see, it completed it, right? This is the low we're talking about. Yeah, exactly. So your original target did hit, which was here, no? I don't know if he's on the call, but this is like the original target here. But yeah, you see, like the main thing that I liked about this is, even though this is like obviously long-term bullish, is the fact that it was an H1, sorry, is the unwillingness factor here, because we're talking about like a minor major intraday push. We have this, but then you have the internal transition here, So now, once you have unwillingness here, and then you have the OGC, then this is a good fib to bring you here. Plus, like, momentum, you know? And then obviously, like, now, like, once that target is met and you see, like, the reaction, it looks like this wasn't that playable. Yeah, it looks like this wasn't all that playable. But now, once that target is met and you start to see, like, a reaction and then the break here, then you can clearly see from a bias perspective that we have this in play now. Right? Which means, like, the transition here, which is today's, right? You see the sweep and then the break, and then this is like a very nice sell to buy here, you know? This is sell to buy. But obviously, any type of position, your invalidation is here and you're aiming for here. Right, yeah, but I don't know if he's on the call, but yeah, that's a very good trade. I just don't like the aggressiveness there. Let's see if there's actually anything. Okay, I mean, yeah, if you want to be very aggressive, yeah, I mean, there's this. But that wasn't present on his execution. Right? You see, this is what I meant, how you wanted like the little thing, that little transition there. I really, really like these transitions. I don't know what to call them. Maybe you guys have noticed these before. It's like stuff like this. I don't know what to name them. Like they look like I don't know if you guys know what a Quasimodo is. Like they kind of look like that. Um like stuff like this on EU. Like this, you know, like stuff like this. Where you have the internal range, like a little final internal range push and then a break. That shows the mini transition. Internal SD, I don't know. Like I don't know. Like because we have this, but it's because it swept the range that I can't call it a SD. Like it's more reminiscent of a sweep, but like this isn't like a sweep based on how we look at it. You know what I mean? And like we used to call these like whiplashes, remember? Whenever it would sweep both sides, we used to call them whiplashes because I didn't really have another name for it. But like if we really want to give something like that a name, like it looks like a Quasimodo, like right here, you know, kind of, nah. Which a Quasimodo was like just a fancy head and shoulders, if you guys don't know what that is. Let me see if I could see another one. Um, yeah, I mean like this, stuff like this. Good old head and shoulders. Yeah, I mean we could name it head and shoulders, but I don't want to name it that because the head and shoulders principally is like a different thing. Like the head and shoulders is supposed to be like one, two, like obviously three, but then the neckline, like this is the confirmation of the head and shoulders. But the actual just this is a Quasimodo. But yeah, I mean, it's like this one's just a head and shoulders, but then like this one's not a head and shoulders, the one we just saw. Hmm. Wait, am I tripping? No, this is way too far back. I swear it was the second. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. Here, sure. But you see, like this is not a head and shoulders because uh there's no. I mean, there's like technically a neckline push, but this is just like a micro mitigation. Like that's not like it didn't come back and do that. You know. I don't know. Like the cup of tea. What do you mean? Like teacup? What do you mean? Yeah. But I mean, point is like, doesn't matter what it's called. I mean, like if I was to like name it something appropriately, it's like technically like a Quasimodo. But it's just when you see those internal ranges and then the transition. Like when you see those pushes, like EU is like the inverse of it. But I mean, we don't have a name for it. But it's a really good like confirmation. I'm not gonna lie, it's a very good confirmation. And it even represents it in the solidified points most of the time. You see? Like it's a higher level that's then breaking through. So that high level break is the transition. See, like we go to Nas. I mean, on M1, even there, it's like a level 3, right? So I don't know when this was confirmed, though. Let's see. When was this confirmed? Level 2? I guess it is always going to be like some type of higher level transition there. Yeah, you see. And then level 1 to level 2. So because there's a level 3 here, this would level 2 because it's technically unwillingness. But then the point is like the fact that this occurs, that little move. And it's cool because these moves will give you like buy to sells, you know? Yeah, those are one of my favorite those are one of my favorite um I guess you call it a pattern. But also what's cool is like look at what it means like on the high on a bit of a higher time frame. You see how these types of moves will give you something on like a bit of a higher time frame. Like here you could see it's like a 3-pin kind of 3-pin, but it's like an engulfing. That's what I like about these transitions. Like if you start looking at these transitions, you're gonna see what they mean on a higher time frame. And nobody answered my question on that too. Is like, what's the point of buy to sell to buy? LG, no, no. I mean, yeah, it's an LG, but that's not the point. Like, why did we move from inefficiencies SCs to buy to sell to buy? No, it's implied. Like it's an implied higher time frame candle. So we're still using the same principles as like SC momentum, but a higher time frame SC is a lower time frame transition, and that transition is just like an internal buy to sell to buy. That's the whole point. And like you could do the same thing with these patterns. It's like you could see here this little Quasimodo or head and shoulders, whatever you want to call it, on a bit of a higher time frame is like an engulfing or like a 3-pin, you know, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like if you go to the this one, the recent one, like here, right? You see how this is like this transition here. What is this like on an M15, M5, M15? Well, I mean, I guess it also depends on like the duration of the move. Like by duration, I mean like this, because this is obviously like a lot of candles. But like from this high to then this low to then break, which is a quote unquote like it's a manipulation move because it's a V shape. So therefore, what does that mean on a higher time frame, right? A 3-pin or you know something like that. You know what I mean? Or maybe it could be another type of candle. But the point is that it implies something. Like most of the stuff implies something. Like the LGC is a failed continuation. It implies a failed reversal. Sorry, right? OFD is it implies a failed point of interest. See, like even like this, like imagine this is completely fails from here, and it kind of just falls off the earth. Like that, like what that would mean is there's no third like Quasimodo hand here. Oh, there is no like third arm. Like it's 1, 2. Like if this would have swept and then gotten lower, then that would be 3. And so then this would be a V shape. Therefore, because of the duration of the move, which is from 12 ish to this, that would imply a daily candle ish that's bearish. You see what I mean? You see like how that could close? Just like this one. Like, I mean, this one did sweep. All right, so there's a divergence here. So this could potentially happen. So like, there's a divergence like here between EU and DXY. So therefore, it's like a 1, 2, 3, and then once it breaks, obviously it's the Quasimodo. But what that means on a higher time frame, because this is from like the start of the day, from Thursday to Friday, that means that the next daily candles are gonna potentially start to give you a reversal. You know what I mean? And then if you get like the 3 pin, you get the engulfing, then now that frames the bias for here. And then what does that mean internally is that you have the shift, the V shape. Right? Does that make sense? But yeah, it's look at these case studies here. Yeah, it did end up hitting his target. Here. Excuse me. I like this if this H4 has to close that way, because I don't like going against big wicks like this or big momentum candles. Those are kind of the two main things I don't like going against. Like, I don't want to sell if I see this. Feel me? Unless we have like disruption, because then the disruption would offset. Like, if there's a disruption here, then that disruption would offset this. But the that H4 has to close like that, right? Like H1. Yeah, it's just this is like a bit of a sweep. So because it's a bit of a sweep, the internal's bearish. So I would want to see the completion break and then go. Yeah. Like, you're seeing this, like, there's a sweep here, big candle, break, and order flow is here. Like, maybe I would rather want to see that complete and then give me a sell to buy, than reference to then go here. Yeah, you see? Perfect. This is exactly what I would have wanted. Here. Oh, I'm sorry, not here. Here. That. Even though the RR is not the best, but like, if I wanted to be conservative, that would have been that. Because this sell to buy is also OFD. But because at the time, let's look here. At the time here, the order flow is still technically bearish internally. So that's something I would be fighting against. And like the invalidation, it's 50-50 because there's high momentum this way, high momentum this way. But yeah, but if you would have wait for, let's say, this, which is the OFD, then you have the very clear sell to buy. And then from here, just, easy going. Because obviously you can't even attempt to move your stop until minimum, like, this is broken, but that's already close to your TP. You see what I mean? And like, even here, bro, your stop has to be here. Your range is there. And there's no LG. So like, you can move it here once this occurs. Yeah, this is today, right? This is today, I think. Yeah, you're playing based on that manipulation. There's a very clear move here. Very clear. Yeah, it's the pointing that out earlier. It's just you're kind of fighting a lot here. This is like like obviously because I'm bearish, right? Like I'm obviously bearish here, but like this is unwillingness. So this is not enough for me to want to take this higher yet, right? So like I would have wanted to see something more, and I don't. This is also why I don't like to trade gold because a lot of the time I don't see this. Like you can see, there's a lot of weak order flow here, right? A lot of weak order flow. So because that's weak, like that's also throwing me off. But yeah, let's see how that's doing. Yeah, that's doing. Like you should definitely have taken a partial there and then a partial here. Um, let's see how that's doing. Yeah, you see, like my stop isn't hit yet, and your position is like here. Yeah, you see, like right now, like this is like a buy to sell, but it's not. I wouldn't trade that buy to sell because it didn't. If this would have swept, then yeah, maybe I'll trade that as a buy to sell. But like here, this is another example of like seeing this transition. So like from the M1 perspective, like if I see a transition, then I can aim for here. But how are these closures doing? Let's see. I mean, it's still technically in your favor if we're only comparing this internal range, which is a break, and then low to high pullback. You should still technically hit your target. Now, the only thing that would invalidate your internal bullish bias is like a transition here, like here. That's the only thing that could throw off your bias. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. Cool. But any questions, guys? Any more case studies? Yeah, but sure. Go ahead. Go ahead. Wait, how do you mute? All right, but yeah, while you send that, I'll be right back. Give me a sec. All right. Oh, fuck. Right, let's see. The same one. There it is. Okay. That's fair. The bias is fair. But I can already see that the internal spare issue. Yeah, it looks like a falling knife. It's early. You need this to break, bro. And either way, like if this breaks, this is just going on to be the CBOS of like this. Like you're coming to like CBOS territory, and then it could just switch. Yeah, you see, yeah. So like it's better to take in this case like sweep, bearish, internal range, sell to buy, break, engulfing. Like it makes more sense to want to sell here and go lower. But the only thing that's fighting that is obviously like the external, and then it's also didn't sweep, bro. So like high, low, retracement. Have to assume the continuation. When was this today? Is this today? Is right now? Uh, I was looking at this though. Okay, cool. We'll come back to this. When was this? Excuse me. Like here. Yeah, that's when it did this. Yeah. Yeah. I see it. It's just well, like for one, like I'm playing the sweep here, and two, this didn't sweep, and three, this is internally bearish. You see, even though there was like this here potential structural disruption, there's high momentum immediately after that. If you can notice this, hold on. There's immediate high momentum here, or it kind of immediately dies here. So if I see this immediately dies, come back here, that breaks. So now I'm still within this range, right? And because I'm still within the range, like I'm kind of still having to play this as a pullback down, you know? And I mean, there's OFD here, but like I said, like right now, I would wait for this to then be bullish. But yeah, this is also like proving to be like the internal LGC. I don't know if this actually hit the fib here. You could see this. Nice. See, 70 straight to 32. That's pretty nice, actually. This is like the only other model I'd ever focus on is like figuring out like an LGC, figuring out whether the only thing that's, well, before I get to that, it'd be like an LGC and then fib. That would be like pretty good. That's like the only other thing I'd ever like to build. Because it's pretty simple to automate. It's just the hard part with that is like the context. Because this is like transitionary. So therefore, like this is still technically bullish on some scale. But because we're looking at this, right? And we're looking at this as a bias, the frame was down. This is a transition from bullish to bearish. So that condition is what's allowing me to trade the LGC as in that way, you know? because I don't only want to trade like an LGC, because an LGC can be present in many places like here. But this is like a different condition to this because this is already bullish. But yeah, this is like another potential model. It's just like it's a variation of LGC, but it's like a you have to look for the transition, right? And then obviously the transition here, but then the next LGC is like the fib range. I wouldn't want it to be this. I would want it to be the follow up. But yeah, no, I don't like the execution on this one. I think it's too early. You have to anticipate this. And whenever you see like there isn't like a lot of like movement, like it kind of just looks like a straight shot, just go to like M3. You'll see a little bit more price action. Like if you look at that here, M5, that was here, right? So all the like, there's not that much price action, like, or like you can't really know a lot of like internal structure, but like on M3 you can. Like you can see here, right? There's that. That's the beginning of the continuation, and then you can see internal range, internal range. Or actually, or this would be an internal range of this, right? So then this is just the inclination that we're still going to continue lower. At least until we complete order flow. And then once that happens, like, anything can happen. But yeah, it looks like this is what's going on right now. Bro, you always pick these conditions. These are so bad. This is a terrible condition, bro. Like, look, you're bullish, sure, but then you have unwillingness, and then you have unwillingness again. This is no man's land, bro. So like, the only way to trade this is like dependent on these internal sweeps, and then obviously TP1 has to be here. But you always pick these conditions, bro. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair position. I'm not opposed. Like this is a sweep. This is creating the range. Yes, this is like potentially also a sweep, but you have the LG, which is like giving you the entry. So that's fine. That's fine. Oh, wrong one. Yeah, you see, that's good. That's good. Except I don't see the target. Oh, I see. Yeah, the target's here. And this is the problem with trading within no man's land, is because if the direction is uncertain, you fail to break one way, you fail to break the other way, then why should it not bounce out of here? Why should it, or why should it not? Like it's you can't really say yes or no, you know what I mean? Because we can say that because of this LG or this sweep here, we're potentially looking at this sweep to complete. You could say that, but the problem is the context, which is that you have no man's land. You can have an LGC, um, a bullish LGC in a overall bearish trend, but that doesn't mean that you should trade the model, because it also depends on the alignment. But it's like the same thing here. It's like you see that it bounced from here, but like, I'm not saying that you should anticipate this. I'm just saying that why should you not anticipate this? Because the no man's land is present. So if the direction is unclear, then how do you know which POI I should bounce from? And like, you could obviously try to play the order flow, but it's just like, at what point is it going to reverse? Like, it could have easily reversed here if it really wanted to. Like, not down there, but like here. Sweep here and then go. But yeah, it's just the conditions there are terrible. Just not really worth my time. This one, conditions are much more different. It's like you have the sweep, these internals bearish. You have the LG, but no, there's still like this here. So that you're fighting this. If you're going to be overall bullish and you want it to be bullish again, you're fighting the internal. Right? So your direction is aligned externally, but internally there's still something in the way. Yeah, okay, see, so like that momentum looks fine. That momentum looks fine. Yeah, that momentum looks fine. See here. This is key. The momentum coming into play. I just think it's still a little aggressive because like I said, you're still fighting this. Yeah, and that TP was hit. See, so I don't know if it's more conservative to say this move here is also in play, but the risk reward isn't there. I mean, you could even do something like that. But the risk reward still isn't that good. But yeah, I don't know. It just that's not a trade I would take. If I'm trying to take this sweep, like I'm aiming for this. So I got to find the scenario here that would lead me here. Therefore, I would need the internal to shift if I want to align with the external. I hope you're not buying here. Hope you're not buying here. Again, it's just like I talked about this. Like your sweep range, your target is here, and like this is bearish. Is this 3? I think this is 3, right? Yeah. And this is not. No, this is bad. Corrective structure. This is not SD. Corrective structure. Continue the trend. Like the only thing that would offset for me here, it would be the sweep of any low, like a sweep, and then the break, obviously. Obviously not this one, right? But like if we were to sweep this and then maybe get a transition, all right, now I'm good. Now we can go. Yeah, you see, this is now when I should start looking for the move because they're fighting the momentum, bro. Like this one, the bias was wrong because you're missing the sweep, and you're also like this is bearish. Like, why are you fighting this? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. Okay, much better. Except I don't know if you're already in this, but this one's good because I believe there's like a sweep here, but this is internally bearish. But at the same time, you have this. So once you have this internal transition, you could use the entire thing. Who knows if it came back for it though? We'll see. Yeah, you see, like I would just take this. Like you're overcomplicating this. You're trying to squeeze out what 0.3 R for potentially missing the trade. Yeah, you see. So yeah, I would just use the entire thing. And also, I think this one went deeper than that. I think that one went a little bit deeper. Yeah. I just don't think there's another target. Let's see. No, there wasn't. Okay, that makes sense. No, that target makes sense. That's fine. Was that this one? Yeah, it was. Yeah, I guess that's it. This one though, I'm no longer interested in this. This was a decent move here though. Right here. That's the move that he got. That was a good move. Whoa. So is this gonna? Y'all think? I mean, it looks like now because of this, like it looks like we're not gonna complete the sweep. We would now need like transition. Yeah, no, I don't think this is gonna complete now. It's crazy. Yeah, because if you guys watched the case study, I wanted this originally. If I wanted to be bullish on EU, I think I took the video while we were like here. Like I wanted to see something like this. If we see that, now I have like a very clear move to get me to the sweep high. You know what I mean? But because we just kind of went from here, that's kind of alerting. You did leave a lot of weak order flow. That swept, and then that broke. So I guess this is still in play. Let's look at the internal. Yeah, if I want to play this POI, I want to see like a break. But yeah, this is shaping up to be a weird weekly closure. Very bearish daily closure. And then the weekly closure is just going to be kind of weird. Yeah. Indecisive. Indecisive. But this is like at a very crucial point. So I guess let's see what happens here. See, like this is external, internal. Uh we still have some time actually. Yeah, right at the 70. All right, this is gonna be interesting, guys. How this reacts for the rest of the day, and then for obviously for market open on Sunday, it's pretty much gonna tell us whether or not we're either going to come back into the sweep low, and then from here, potentially see hopefully the transition we talked about earlier. And then if we see the transition, then we can follow the overall bias of bullishness. Or if this break, which is like the less ideal situation, is like kind of if we break here, and then if there's a transition here and then this goes lower, then that's kind of messed up. Like I'm no longer interested in this because then that means that the daily would kind of also have some closures that favor downside on this. And then that would mean that we would more than likely start to aim for, right, this POI that we talked about earlier. Right, so hopefully it's kind of just melts here and then gives us transition for next week. But yeah, guys, any more questions, concerns? Any more case studies? Like I said, the starting next week, I'm not going to be uploading the recordings on YouTube anymore. Oh, only like once every 2 weeks I'll be doing that.